Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all joining us today as we embark on our next wave of some fun webinar discussions with Fall in the Air. Thank you again for participating, and I'm enthusiastic about today's session as it has been an abundance of learning for me personally on this topic, and more essentially hearing the perspective of a customer in a critical sector like mining. As all of you are aware, mining sector is crucial to the global economy. But what might be a very surprising fact for many of you is that the top 40 mining companies worldwide actually generate a record 943 billion in revenue in 2022 alone. Mining is one of the largest contributors for countries like even Australia's GDP. And regardless of how much you know in mining and its impact, probably most people know that, compared to many other countries, the US mining industry in general is considered to be some of the most foresighted from safety, sustainability standards in the world due to investments in technology, training, and equipment. On that note, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Meena Sankaran, founder and CEO of KETOS. Our mission at KETOS is really to deliver actionable water insights for all of our users, whether you're in industrial, agriculture, or municipality as an entity. We currently serve in 9 countries, including US, and our international presence is mainly due to the synergy in mining. And we monitor a wide variety of water matrices, including surface water, groundwater, wastewater, produced water, and roughly around about 45 billion gallons as of today to help customers build sustainable, efficient, lucrative, and responsible operations. For the first time, we have a very special guest whose experience really spans across mining and water in a unique way that allows us to push the boundaries of how we think about water, mining, outcomes, and the impact of all this within operations. Please join me in welcoming Robbie Gage from Rio Tinto. Robbie, it seems like you are the man to reach when we want to really get our hands in the weeds and learn all there is to, mining operations. So very, very grateful for your time this morning.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to be here.
And so let me kick us off on this Q&A just to learn, for the audience here. Can you share a bit about your background, Robbie, and expertise pertaining to, the decades you have in mining and specifically your role with Resolution Copper as well?
So actually, I started out in the construction industry when I first got out of school and stuff. So I've been in that with 20 years. The housing market, of course, went down in the early 2000s. So I got into the mining industry, and there I started in the utilities department. So we oversaw an RO plant, the wastewater treatment plant, and the whole potable water system for our town and the mine. So I was in that group for about 10, 13 years. And then I went to another mine, still working with utilities and stuff. And then I got over here at Resolution Copper, where I'm the superintendent for operations and maintenance of our water treatment plant and our infrastructure here. So our purpose for our water treatment is, so we're the dewatering of the underground mine. We're still a project, we're not in production yet. So what we do is we dewater the underground to keep the underground from flooding. We treat that water, and then we send that water down to the farms in the valley here at Phoenix for free, so that they have water to water their crops.
Excellent and very impressive background, Robbie. I didn't realize the connection to even the agriculture, especially, and I don't know if we've connected, but I used to live in Phoenix, so very much understand, sort of the spectrum of water needs in Arizona. When people think about mining, or at least from how I grew up from, in the tech sector, think about, especially as an electrical engineer too, a television requires like 35 different minerals, 40 minerals used to make like telephones, and 15 minerals or so go into a car. And, the US is the world's second largest producer of copper and gold. I mean, when you are part of an organization like Rio Tinto, where even though your current project might still be, pre-production, with your prior experience, as you look at the mining sector, what do you think are some of the key priorities for a company like Rio Tinto over the next couple of years? And how do you see that focus? How that matter? How does that matter to you and what you need to deliver on a day to day?
Well, what we need to do is make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success in the future. So water management is critical. Of course, you being down in the valley and stuff, understand the lack of water we have here in the state. You know, we're pulling from other states and stuff like that. So for us to manage our water properly and try to use all of our water that we use on our site for processing and stuff when we get to production. I mean, that's just great because then we're not going to be having to pull from underwater or underground reservoirs and stuff like that and draining other water systems and stuff. So being able to manage our water on site is very critical, and it's a priority for Resolution Copper and Rio Tinto.
Well, that's great to hear. And the other part is just mining is a very water intensive industry.
Oh,
As you know, and people think of water being used for, from what I've learned from our mining customers, like you're processing the ore and you're watering the mine pit, and there's so many other purposes, including large holding ponds and so forth. So how, when you think about sort of water for your team as a superintendent and look at, okay, guys, like here's our strategy, these are kind of, our initiatives we should be looking at, how do you address water monitoring for like your operations? Because it's such a daunting task to think about, just the variety of ways when people even think about compliance coming into play, not just your core operation. So
Yeah.
very curious to see how do you think about that strategy?
Well, having systems like the KETOS system, I mean, to monitor our water and the quality of water that we're sending off site. As you say, there are compliance that we have to meet with ADEQ here in Arizona. So having that instrumentation or the technology to monitor our water and allow us to make changes to our water before it leaves site is very critical.
Got it. And, in your experience, Robbie, as you started, leveraging KETOS, and we've been, I think, working with your site for a while now, how has sort of the, automated, a bit more real-time visibility for you and having, sort of your sampling process and your testing and sensing process, all of those pieces automated, or at least you're not having to manually calibrate, things like you did before. How has that affected your team and overall, how has that served your need?
Well, so I'm old school, so I used to do everything manually, and so now where we have technology that'll do that for you. Right. Some people have challenges with it, but once they learn it, they love it. They're like, oh yes, this does make my job a lot easier. And it's making sure that I'm getting great data. So it's a good thing. And the team's coming around, and it's just something that we have to keep conveying to them that it's going to be changing nonstop going forward. So we're always going to be looking for new technology to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to make sure that our water is compliant with ADQ, and just to make things easier for our employees here at Resolution Copper. Right. So.
No, absolutely. And I would assume, Robbie, for the most part, just like, whether you're a manufacturing plant or a mining organization, I mean, you're always short-staffed. There's never enough resources for all the things you want to do. And yes. And everyone's plate is overflowing with just something else that you got assigned. Yeah. So, when I think about KETOS for, what can we do for customers or where can we add value? The first thing is it's not so much doing someone's job or taking something away from them, but it's really about how can I offer time back to you so you can actually do something that is more important and not mundane, like capturing a sample, filling up the bottle, making sure you didn't, contaminate it, and then going back and forth between a lab. So I hope that over time, folks who have spent years doing manual sampling can get more confidence and credibility by seeing the data and ease of access over, a mobile phone and get comfortable with it. So are you seeing that shift too?
I am actually, yeah, and it's nice because now they're realizing it frees them up to do other things, maybe keeping up with some housekeeping issues or looking into other issues at a different part of the plant, maybe newer ways we can do some new processes and stuff like that. So they like the fact that it's freeing their time up to work on other things now.
No, that's great. And that's really what we hope, and I hope everyone here listening to us is able to capture some of these wisdom nuggets to, apply in your thought process. Change is hard for a lot of organizations, and which is also why we've, really tried meticulously to push for the entire tech stack to be integrated. So you're not having to go and hire a data analyst to sit and process all that data. We're trying to make sure that the data is analyzed and provided to you as well. So Robbie, we tend to have a diverse audience here from, industrial, agriculture, municipality, and a few other folks, but some of our strongest presence is in mining. What other advice do you have for, I guess a two-part question, Robbie, just operators out there, general, they need not be in mining, and then, operators who are specifically in mining. Would love to kind of hear your advice for them.
Well, for me, I have those conversations with my team to try to convince them to always look at better ways to do their job, easier ways to do their job, and safer ways to do their job. So always looking towards newer technology, because that's, again, like I said, that's how the future is going. There's going to be something tomorrow that's going to make your job so much better than it is today, a lot easier and stuff. So just keeping an open mind. That's another thing when newer technologies come out, a lot of people don't have open minds and they're like, no, I like the way it is. It's easy. We get to learn that process, and then a year from now, they're going to change it because there's new technology than that. Yes, that's probably will happen, but again, it's still things that are going to always make your job a lot better and a lot easier. So just keep an open mind.
Very, very case in point, open mind. And, something that you said, Robbie, really resonated, because it's a very thoughtful response when you look at shelf life of equipment, right? So traditionally, that's another hassle, is when operators are really trying to focus on uptime and focus on their deliverables, you're bombarded with new technologies quite often. And then the question is, who has the time to ramp up on all this stuff? Like, who has the time to suddenly, and then you're expected to become an expert overnight. We got this a month ago. How do you not know how this thing works already? So, I think that, that expectation, I think, is also a false business model that has existed for decades with instrumentation companies. And so, our approach has been, you're the expert when it comes to mining operations. Let us be the technology expert on how the system needs to function to help you deliver, right? If we're able to make it as truly a mutual partnership, then it's less transactional and saying, all right, Robbie, here you go. Here's the equipment. You've purchased it. It's all on you and your team. You guys go figure it out. And I think that we've been able to really focus on having our business model where we say, okay, we're not selling that equipment to you because there's so much new iterations of advancements coming that we want to automatically do that on the equipment for you. So you're able to have, complete confidence in the sense that I don't have to worry about the warranty, the repair, or the shelf life, or, how long is this technology? Is it already, archaic, or am I like the latest and the greatest? So those are, really the focused approach of giving you a business model that is zero CapEx and really OpEx driven, even if it means that tech companies like us recover the cost of the hardware over a period of time. But that's okay, because it's worth doing sort of the lease data subscription model, because I think it's helping. My philosophy is helping operators. How do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I think it's just, getting to know your operators, what makes them comfortable, what makes them understand. Check for knowledge, see if they understand what the process is, and then making sure that if the technology is going to be what you need for your process. Because there's a lot of people, that try to get you to take on their technology, and it's not the right technology for your process, maybe for another person's process, but just getting input from my operators. They're the ones out there on a daily basis. They're the one that makes the changes to our treatment and stuff like that. So it's very important to get input from them to let them know that they are needed and they're important to the process as well. So.
No, absolutely. And you bring up an important point that when you're considering any technology, look at not just the nuance of the technology and its benefits, but look at the business model, look at how it's going to fit into your current process before, you sort of make a decision that, oh, that's a really cool technology, I'm going to jump on it, right?
Right.
Because there are a lot of cool gadgets that keep
There are a lot
popping
of,
up.
yes.
And that brings us to a great question here, which is, what are some of your items on your wish list? If you were to think about mining technologies, I mean, I'm sure you're already implementing the best and the greatest out there for your environment, but there's so many solutions. So what are some of the things, and it doesn't have to be specifically water, but what are some things, oh, I wish somebody had done that for, our mine?
Man, that's probably something I think about every day in my personal life. It's like, that would have been great. Why don't they do that? I think for us, for me here at site is I do love things that are automated. But I still want my operators or my employees to be in touch with what's going on out in the field. So even though the technologies are getting better, they're making it easy. I still think you need that hands-on approach as well to get out and make sure that things are operating the right way. Because again, you can't always trust the technology. Sometimes it does make some mistakes or breaks down. Just getting out in the field and checking to make sure it works the right way. So just keep, as far as automation, making it easier for the operators and stuff out in the field to make those decisions is a benefit.
So implement but verify, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And always keep a pulse on it. And that's a great point, because one of the other aspects is, Robbie, we don't focus on the treatment, right? We monitor, but we always let the operators make the decision of what do they want to do with the data. How they want to use it, whether it's changing your dosing or material reduction, or how you want to work with the treatment aspect. And in some scenarios, people do want everything close control, like completely closed loop. But I've also seen, for the exact reason that you mentioned, that it's a perfect point of control for an operator to say, I'm learning key metrics from here, and I'm the one making that decision of what I'm going to do with this data for this next technology, right? So you're sort of like the chain connector if you're building sort of this entire system matrix.
And I think, right now, a lot of our stuff is we're reacting. It'd be nice to be able to have stuff farther up the stream so that we can make changes and stuff prior to, say, the water getting to our plant.
Completely.
So, getting something underground, because that's where, of course, from our underground workings over at the East plant, pulling that water up, making, we're going to have this kind of water, so we're going to have to adjust our line today to make sure our pH is right. Maybe we have to decrease or increase our polymer, to get the right sediment. So having technology farther up the stream, it's not going to take a lot of space, because there's not a lot of space underground and stuff like that for big bulky units. But it fits in with our environment and stuff like that, and then just give us data so that we can make changes prior to that water getting to our plant.
No, I really love that, because when I look at the number of people focusing on source water, so that they can actually be more predictive about the water entering the plant versus only thinking about, more investigative compliance from an effluent or regulatory purpose, the water's already passed through your entire operations at that point, right? So I think there is a ton of opportunity to do more source water monitoring, which we have seen the folks who really implement the KETOS Shield on the source, they've seen a shift in plant uptime, depending on the sizes of the manufacturing plants they are. So definitely, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and also underground mines are becoming kind of the next trend, even if there
Mhm.
are a lot of open pit mines. So I'm sure there are a lot of other technologies that are brewing out there that are probably
Right.
not even in production yet.
Yeah.
So finally, I know, Robbie, I know we're running out of time, and you probably can talk about mining for a couple hours on this topic and more with regards to bruises and everything that you have sort of learned. So I really appreciate you keeping us on time. And I guess any parting words for the audience in terms of what they should be thinking about when they're maybe considering ketos, just as a takeaway?
Yeah, again, you want to make sure that the process is going to work for you in your process. Get input from your operators out in the field because they're the ones that are going to monitor it and stuff. And then just keeping an open mind going through that process and stuff. So
Excellent. Well, thank you, Robbie. And really appreciate you taking the time. I remain curious as ever learning about mining, and because there's so many nuances you don't understand about mining that as technologists we look at data, we think about that, but just the hardware, the physical aspects of it, there's so many intricacies, and I would say my journey about learning with respect to mining is only 3 years old. So far from, my technology experience of working and learning for the last 25 years. So, but for the audience here, again, it's a pleasure to have Robbie here. Feel free to connect with him if you have any questions that can help you in making different decisions as an operator. There's a lot to unpack here in each of Robbie's responses, so I hope you can pick up some of those wisdom nuggets, and really hope everyone enjoyed this brief Q&A session, whether you were drinking tea or coffee or a glass of wine, depending on wherever you dialed in from. And for folks who want to learn more about ketos or how our solution works, or the 36 parameters we monitor as of today, I'm sure it covers majority of the mining operators wish list of parameters. There's a couple more that we've had, for example, antimony, and I can't think of another one, but there are a few more that we've had recent requests from other mines that we're looking into. But in general, please feel free to learn more at info@ketos.co or www.ketos.co. My personal goal is to, share about what we're doing, share where we can add value, and how ketos generates, increasing visibility, mitigating risk, or improving your operational efficiency. With that, Robbie, any last words for the crew here, or we can call it a wrap?
no, just thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Pleasure having you here. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.